Okay, can you see my screen now? All of you? Okay. So I was just I was just telling you about private VLAN, and in this private VLAN, you see there are concept of primary and secondary VLAN. Our firewall, our internet service provider router, or a perimeter router. Have you heard about this term, perimeter router? Our own premises router, which is connected to internet. So R1 is going to act as a perimeter router who get connected to internet. Internet here, as per my diagram, internet is R2. Then I have one switch here to configure this private VLAN. Private VLAN works in transparent mode. Have you heard about this mode? You must have heard about client mode. You must have heard about server mode. You must have heard about transparent mode also. Can anyone explain me what is the difference between server, client and transparent? Can anyone explain me what are these modes? No one? Yes, I'm talking about VTP modes. When you say show VTP status on switch, you can see in which mode your switch is. Actually, by default, when you buy a Cisco switch, any Cisco model, any Cisco switch, by default, he is in server mode. All the switches are in which mode? Server mode. Okay, Nahid want to explain it on phone. So let me unmute her. Good. I want this session to be interactive because otherwise I know people will go to sleep. Okay. And then start asking in the group, come on, send me recordings. If you are not able to attend the lecture when I am giving you live, how you're going to listen to those recordings? But yes, there are people who are not able to attend the session due to some emergency or job. They can go through the videos. Okay. So let me unmute Nahid because she wants to explain what are the three different modes and what is the why these modes are there on the switches, right?
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Sorry to asking for the mic because actually I have to leave for the job and I can't chat. I'm working in kitchen as well. Sorry. And secondly, sir, in front of teacher, I can't say that I can explain it, but I can answer your question. I try my best. The they are three modes of the VTP. And the server is mainly just like a server giving the services and having a full rights and can be connected to anyone and talk to anyone in the network, whereas the client is having a limited authority and they can talk to the server and they can talk to, if I'm not wrong, with each other as well, whereas the transparent is just a quiet and the silent mode of the VTP where they can receive, they can pass on the information, which is like from one switch to another, if both are in the client or the server mode, and in between there is a transparent, so transparent can let their traffic go transparently, but they are not going to share their database with anyone else in the network.
Correct. So in short, my switch in transparent mode can receive updates from server. Okay, and he can pass it on this update to another switches which are in client mode, but he will never apply this update on himself. He is kind of isolated. Like for example, if I am telling you that there are people who are working in a chain, like one lady is cleaning, one second lady is packing, third lady is putting some tag, and fourth lady is sending. So if they are working in line in a row, and for some reason the lady in between is like busy with something else, she might be taking lunch or something, That time she will not do that thing, but at least she can pass it on, whatever is there. Okay. So when we configure a switch in transparent mode, it is a kind of a isolated. It is physically present in the rack. Okay. But he will not take the updates and apply it on himself. Like for example, if some update comes for a particular VLAN, he won't take it for himself. He can forward it. So you are right, Nahid. What you said, the explanation was good. Keep it up. So I have to convert my switch in transparent mode for doing private VLAN. In transparent mode also, you can create VLANs. Huh? You can create VLAN, you can change the priority, but whatever, you can do anything. But this information will not be passed on to any other switch. It's kind of a isolated switch. Okay. Isolated means there in the network, physically present in the network, but he will not participate in forwarding VTP updates, which are time to time being given on the trunk link. Clear? So as per my diagram, if you see the diagram, I am having 4 PCs attached to a switch. Okay. And these 4 PCs either will be in isolated and community. So if they are in isolated, they cannot communicate with each other. If they are in community, they can communicate with each other. And what about primary? Primary can communicate with both isolated and community. So practically, I will show you how it works, how to configure a switch for private VLAN, how to make it possible. See, though this is a part of switching, but it is related to security, because when we insert these species in an isolated VLAN, they will stop communicating with each other. I told you there are some old protocol like VACL, VLAN access list. These are now legacy protocol, and the new one is private VLAN. And you won't believe, the successor to private VLAN is TrustSec. Again, this is a new protocol, TrustSec, security group tag protocol, security exchange protocol. These are the protocols which are configured on ICE to support TrustSec. Okay. But anyway, I will show you later on TrustSec on ICE. Okay. We can have a short session on ICE. Like we'll be having a session on ICE also. I will show you uh, how to configure ICE, how to add the network devices, and okay. So we'll be having a lab on this also. So anyway, I will just start my routers. See, regarding this, see what I'll do now, I will give you this lab, okay, and I will give you the supporting commands to be configured on these devices. Like for example, I did port security, I did port fast, I did BPD guard, I did root guard, I did loop guard. All those practical, okay, will be given to you with diagram as well as the command line, because command is important. No doubt you can find out on cisco.com, but still, okay. So what I'll do, I will start my lab on private VLAN. So those who have joined late should know that I'm doing this practical. Okay, how many routers are there? R1, R2. Okay, so what is the, okay, R1, R2. I'll connect this R1 and R2 in secure CRT. Okay, I need to configure switch. What is the 32771? Good. My R1 is pre-configured. Okay, I can ping internet. Good. So R1 and R2 communication is there. Okay. Now I will go to switch and say show VTP status. You can see the VTP operating mode is transparent. Can I create VLANs? Yes. Oh, it is already pre-configured. No, nothing is there. So VLAN. Yes. So I will go here and say no VLAN 10, no VLAN 20, no VLAN 30, and no VLAN 40. 1 minute. I am removing the sharing. See, these are the commands for private VLAN. I did VTP mode transparent. Now I'm going to create VLAN 10. When I create a VLAN 10 on switches, normally you create VLAN with the command config mode VLAN 10. But now this is not normal VLAN. This is a private VLAN. So when I create private VLAN, I have to tell that yes, I'm going to use this VLAN as isolated. What about VLAN 20? I'm going to use this VLAN as community. What about VLAN 30? I'm going to use this as what? Primary. And I'm going to use the association of this VLAN with. So what is the meaning of private VLAN association 10, 20? I am telling that VLAN 30 is to be considered as a primary VLAN, and this primary VLAN will have an association with VLAN and 10 and 20, which is nothing but secondary VLAN. So suppose you are creating 50 VLANs, 50. So all those VLANs will be associated with primary VLAN, because I told you the definition of primary VLAN. I said primary VLAN can communicate with all the secondary VLAN. That's what sure. Okay. So keep in mind, when I create VLAN 10, I said, boss, this is for isolated. When I created VLAN 20, I said, boss, this is for community. When I created VLAN 30, I said, this is for primary. And this primary VLAN can communicate with VLAN 10 and 20. Now comes what? The interface, which will participate in this VLAN. We always say VLAN membership. The term is VLAN membership. Whenever the interface participate in some VLAN, we call it what? VLAN membership. Clear? So I would say interface E0 by 0 and E0 by 1. Okay, so how can I how I can do that? I can make a command with a range keyword. Interface range E0 by 0 dash 1. Okay, and then I will say switch port mode See, in normal VLAN, what you say? Switch port mode access. Switch port access VLAN 10. This is the command we use for normal VLAN configuration. But this is not normal VLAN. This is private VLAN. So we have to say, boss, switch port mode private VLAN. Okay. Host. What is the meaning of host? It is similar to the term mode access. You must have gone through CCNA. Why you give the command switch port mode access on interface? Have you ever thought of that? Why we give a command switch port mode access on when you configure normal VLAN and you are making a VLAN membership of that port? Anyone? Anyone? No one? Faizan, Imanshu, Rizwan. No, Faizan, this is not the definition. Faiz, Faiz is telling it means it is a switch port. I said why we give the command switch port mode access. What is the meaning of these three words? Switch port mode access. What is the meaning of this? Why you give this? Yes, actually we are telling the switch that this port from now onwards is a layer 2. When you say the word switch port, means you are forcing this port to become a layer 2 port. What is the opposite of switch port? Can anyone tell me what is the opposite of switch port? Opposite of switch port. Anyone? No switch port. Yes. When you say no switch port, my multi-layer switch port become L3 interface or L3 port. So you say switch port means L2. You say no switch port means L3. You can type IP address on that port on a switch. Okay. But it should be a multi-layer switch, not pure L2 switch. Normal L2 switch will not take that command only. No switch port. Okay. So actually when you say switch port means what? You are telling your switch, okay, boss, from today onwards, these ports are considered as layer 2 port and access. What is the opposite of access? Can anyone tell me? Opposite of access. Trunk. Correct. What is the difference between access and trunk? Fast. What is the difference between access and trunk? If you are telling switch port mode access means what? And if you are telling switch port mode trunk, what is the meaning of that? Yes, trunk port carries all the VLAN traffic from one switch to another. Okay. Trunk link carries multiple VLAN traffic from one switch to another. And what about access? Access means you connect printer, PC, IP phone, access point, any edge device, end device. For end device, for edge device, you do what? Access. Yes. Trunk can be connected between switch and router. Trunk can be between two switch. Trunk can be between switch and firewall. When you connect a firewall to switch, trunk. When you connect a router to switch, trunk. When you connect any device who is going to take the update of multiple VLAN, we make it trunk. Okay. So when I say switch port mode access means I am forcing this port to become an access port where I'm going to connect an edge device, end device, example PC, example IP phone, example printer. Clear? So when I gave the command switch port mode private VLAN host, it is similar to switch port mode access. Clear? What is the next command I'm going to do? I said switch port private VLAN host association. First, I will give the ID of primary VLAN and then I will tell that you belong to VLAN 10. Again, second command in normal VLAN. What is that second command you do for normal VLAN? You do switch port access VLAN 10. Normal VLAN. Huh? First command for normal VLAN, switch port mode access. Second command, switch port access VLAN 10. Here it is little different. Here it is what? Switch port mode private VLAN host. Switch port private VLAN host association. First comes the primary VLAN and then comes the VLAN it belongs to. Clear, guys? Okay. So please understand the command and then you type. Don't mug up those commands. Okay. Let's see the diagram. E0 by 2 and E0 by 3. Interface range. I say switch port private VLAN, switch port mode private VLAN host, and then I say switch port private VLAN host association 30 and 20. Okay, see this. See, E0 by 0 belongs to VLAN 10, E0 by 1 belongs to, and their primary VLAN ID is 30. E0 by 2 belongs to 20 and their primary VLAN is, again, for them also it is 30. Now you know the command for making trunk. So this is kind of a trunk. Switch and router is forming a trunk, but in private VLAN the term is promiscuous port. Have you heard about this word promiscuous? Those who don't know Hindi, okay, I'll tell you in English, but otherwise in Hindi or in a layman language, it is nothing but transmitting and receiving of information allowed on this port. Okay. I won't say in Hindi because we have lot of people from other countries, so they will get offended. Okay. But anyway, promiscuous port means a port which can carry, which can transmit and receive freely without any hurdles. Clear? It is similar to trunk port. It is similar. I am not telling it is a trunk port. The term is promiscuous. So always remember, you are going to create a promiscuous port between switch and firewall, between switch and router. Why? Because you know primary VLAN can communicate with other VLANs easily. And these guys, VLAN 10 and 20 also can communicate with this primary VLAN easily. That is why you're going to make this port as what? Promiscuous. Clear, guys? So for every configuration, there is some explanation why we are doing this. So I should know which interface is going towards firewall or gateway. The term is what? Gateway. So I will say switch port mode, private VLAN, primary. No, sorry, promiscuous. Promiscuous is like trunk. And then I say switch port mode. Sorry, switch port private VLAN mapping. Mapping. VLAN 30 is primary, 10 and 20 is isolated and community. My job is done. Okay. So only one of my port is connected to router or a firewall and it is E1 by 0. And I made it what? Promiscuous. And I made him participate for VLAN 10 and 20 and the primary VLAN is 30. So when I say show VLAN, you can see that there are 3 VLANs being configured, 10, 20 and 30. Primary VLAN is 30, isolated is 10, community is 20. Okay. Now I will start my PCs. Already PCs are started, so not a big deal. 32772. Where are my PCs? 6, 7, 8. 6, 7, 8. Okay. First we'll see with this one, 32772 and 32773. Later on we'll see with community. So I told you, if you want to isolate, okay, if you want to isolate 2 nodes or 2 PCs or PC and a server, you put them in isolated VLAN. 32772 and 3. No, this one is not the PC. Okay, I can just click on this PC also and I can start. Can you see the screen? Sorry. So when I say show, there's no IP, so I give IP 192.168.10/24 and the gateway is 192.168.10.1. I try to ping 192.168.10.1 my gateway. It's pinging. So what it proves, that I can easily go to my gateway. No hurdles. See, I can easily go to my gateway. There's no problem. Okay. Now we'll see another PC. Show. No IP address. So I say 192.168.10.11 gateway. I ping 192.168.10.10, 10.1 gateway. It's pinging. That means both the PCs can go towards gateway and get internet. No problem. Internet lies in primary VLAN. Our internet edge router is in VLAN 30. That is primary VLAN. Our firewall is also in VLAN 30. So yes, my isolated VLAN traffic can easily go and access gateway. No hurdle. But if they try to ping each other, they won't do. See, you are getting timeout between these two. You can try it from both the PC. PC1 also and PC2. So if I ping 192.168.10.10, 10.10, sorry, or 10.11, it's not pinging. Sorry. Okay. So you can see the IP address of this particular PC. Simple. Just because I inserted them in isolated, they cannot ping each other. Though they are in the same VLAN, guys, still they are not pinging. Okay. What about these guys? VPC6 and VPC7. They are in community. So let's see if they can ping each other. So what I'll do, I'll first give an IP address 192.168.10.12/24. Gateway 192.168.10.1. I ping my gateway. I ping my isolated guy. I can't ping. Community users cannot ping isolated users. See, if I try to ping 10.10 and 10.11, they are not able to ping. Okay. Now let's go to another guy, that is PC7. Show IP 192.168.10.13. 192.168.10.1 is gateway. Can I ping my gateway? Yes, it should ping. It's pinging. Can I ping my neighbor? You can see it's pinging. PC7 can ping PC6 just because they are in community. Can PC6 ping? Yes. 10.13. I hope you understood that if I place machines in isolated VLAN, I am actually not allowing these users to communicate with each other. If I'm placing these users in community VLAN, I'm allowing them to communicate with each other without any problem. Plus, they can go to primary VLAN, but they can't communicate with any other community nor isolated. I hope this is clear with you guys. You have any questions, you can ask me on private VLAN. Why we are doing private VLAN here? Because we don't want the traffic of users should communicate with each other. I normally don't want employees of different departments should communicate with each other. What I will do, I'll put them in cabins and I will put a lock on those cabins. So what happens when they go inside the cabin, they lock. I remember when I used to work for a company, I used to go and ask for money. Salary kab aayega? I want my vouchers. So they used to never open the door only. And they used to say, Baad mein aao. Why? Because everybody will come and disturb them, asking for salary, money, everything. So they are isolated. You can keep them isolated. But what is the problem there? If they are in isolated, they cannot communicate with each other. If you want them to communicate with each other, then you put them in community. Clear? Sir, they send email to each other by net or not? See, if they are sending the traffic out, 1 minute, I'll show you. See, there is one vulnerability, they can misuse that. They can go to primary and they can come. Don't ask me how. Okay. They can go to primary and come to second community. Directly they can't go. That is possible. Okay. So if they are sending email like that to outside, then the traffic will come via primary and then it can go. No problem. But if they're trying to communicate like that directly from the switch will immediately put a filter here. Okay. So yes, they can go to internet and come back. Like for example, you know, someone is not allowing a particular resources, okay, internally. So you go out and come back and access those resources because there must be a rule that only outside users can access those resources, not internal users. So it's simple. You go out and then try to come from outside. They will consider it as what? Outside user trying to access these resources, like that. Okay, clear? This is a loophole. Like, you can make them communicate with each other bypassing primary VLAN. That is attack, or going through primary VLAN. Like, somebody might try to spoof the packet with a IP address of gateway. He will try to go to gateway. But later on, what will happen? The gateway can send the traffic to this guy. No, because gateway is doing what? Routing. They say, oh, you want to go to network 192.168.20. I will forward it. Routing. If they go to R1, no, R1 can immediately send the traffic by routing. And switch will think the traffic is coming from primary VLAN. Getting it? So always remember, sometimes you design it, but there is some vulnerabilities in those design also, and people can take advantage of those vulnerabilities. Okay, so what is my next topic? Wait, let me just check. I told you, many answer for this question of ours, like, you can put an ACL, you can allow only those ports which are being used in your network. Normally, we used to do through IPS. We used to have a signature on IPS, and we used to activate those signature for fragment attack, TCP fragment attack, port scanning attack. We used to activate those signatures, and then we used to stop those attacks. Okay, in IPS, you have those signatures designed for stopping this port scan. It is an attack. Port scanning is an attack. Okay, any port scanner they can use and find out what are the different ports being opened. Like in your app, many times you see the applications using different port. So they can easily find out, how many ports are open, which are the ports open with that scanning. It is a recognition attack. I told you, recognition attack is an attack where you're trying to gather information from the network so that this information can be taken into consideration while doing the main attack. Okay. So try to use ACL, but then always remember, you have to first do a survey. You have to find out how many applications you are running in a network and which ports these applications are being used. You cannot block all the ports. You have to be very much sure. How many ports, how many TCP ports you have to keep it open, how many TCP ports. In fact, I remember we used to do it with a security feature on router. You can do it with GUI also. But see, if you are having firewall, if you are having NG-IPS or IPS, you can do easily on from those devices. NG-IPS is very famous, or IPS is very famous for stopping these kind of attacks. I told you I used to do it with signature. Okay. They already have signatures for TCP fragment attack, ping of death, man in the middle attack, DOS attack, DDoS attack. So it depends which devices you are having. Okay. For URL filtering, you can use WSA, Web Security Appliance. You can have a policy configured on the Web Security Appliance to stop. Even IPS can stop URLs or blacklisted URLs. Okay. So is this clear with you guys? Okay, now let's see. Okay. So I think we have finished our layer 2 security. So if I name the layer 2 security topics, it is uh, I showed you all the spoof attacks. Okay, right? Oh my God, what is this? Where is my PPT? Okay. So now let's discuss something about firewalls. Okay. I will go with the generations of firewall. I will brief you out with the generations of firewall. Yes. Now when I started my career, that time firewalls were not so popular. In fact, antivirus also was not so popular. We used to never have viruses. But then later on, we started exchanging data. We started exchanging something files through for floppy drive. Okay. That time we started getting infected with viruses, worms, and trojans. In fact, worm came, in 1993 or something. I told you, Dr. Maurice worm was very famous worm. It multiplies in the network. It created lot of issues in the network. Okay. So this was the first worm to enter into the network. So when people saw that they are getting infected with viruses, worms and trojans and with different attacks, they become very serious about the security. People started spending money on security or managing the networks. They don't wanted any kind of vulnerability in their network. They don't wanted any loopholes. You won't believe every year net security audits were conducted. The companies were having some software. Their engineer used to come and do lot of attacks internally and from outside, and they used to give a report that yes, like many times you go for a body checkup. So they will give you a report. Your blood pressure is high, your sugar is high, you have something in your kidney, and lot of other stuff. Cholesterol is high. Report. So after giving you a report, what you do? They will suggest that also. You do this, like that. You take this medicine. You do yoga, exercise like that. So firewall technologies were like earlier we used to have packet filters. You must have heard this word in CCNA. There is a term called packet filtering. Router is good in what? Routing. Router is good in what? Packet filtering. Router do packet switching. Router do inter-network communication. Router find out the best path. There are so many features of router. So Cisco was like Cisco started claiming. Cisco started claiming that my router is a firewall. People started asking, how come, man? Your router is a firewall. Say, boss, simple. My router can filter a packet. Okay, how? With the help of a tool called access list. Oh, how to configure access list? There are two types of access list: standard, extended. What is the difference between standard and extended? In extended, you can specify protocol, you can specify source, you can specify destination, you can specify service. Good. So people started trusting router as a firewall. Okay. They started claiming that their router is a firewall. So this was the first generation firewall router. Nowadays we call it IS firewall. But this firewall was stateless. This firewall was what? Stateless. Now there is a difference between stateless and stateful. Stateless means, anyone? Can anyone explain me what is stateless and what is stateful? This is, I'm talking about a term in firewall technology. So you see, I'll give you one example. I'm staying in an apartment, I'm staying in a flat, and when I am going to office, my security guard never stopped me. Why? Because I am moving from trusted network towards untrusted. I am moving from trusted network towards untrusted. That means I'm coming from the building. I'm the owner of the flat or owner of the apartment. So I am authorized person to stay in that building. So I am going from trusted towards untrusted. So my security guard will never stop me. Why? Because the rule or the policy given by the chairman of my building is, anybody come from inside and try to go outside, don't stop him. Getting it? My security guard is being given a policy by the chairman that anybody comes from inside means building, and try to go outside, don't stop him. But anybody who comes from outside and entering the building, stop him, deny him. Okay, good. This policy is good. So when I went, like when I went to office in the morning, say 10 o'clock, he never stopped me. But later on, when I came back in evening at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. from office, he stopped me. And he says, sir, you are not supposed to go in. I said, why? So he said, you are coming from outside and going inside. And there is a policy there that outside users are not allowed inside. But I said, boss, I am the owner of this apartment. So he said, no, this is a stateless behavior. This is called what? A stateless behavior. So what I should do? I should complain the chairman, boss, he is not allowing me to enter my apartment, my building. What is this, man? So he will say, okay, let me tell my security guard, hey boss, if Munawar Khan is going out and when he is coming back in evening, the first policy is what? Munawar Khan ko don't stop Munawar Khan to go out. Okay, applied. Second policy, don't stop Munawar Khan to come from outside and go inside. So for every person you have two policy. What is this, man? How can you have two policy for each and every person? This is called stateless behavior of a firewall. Because when you apply an access list on an interface, when the traffic egress means exit and ingress means enter, it enter. So when you apply a policy on interface which is egress, you have to apply one more access list at ingress, at entry. So every time you have to make two statements. This is stateless behavior. So what is next? You should have a firewall who should behave stateful. What is the meaning of stateful? When I went to office in morning at morning 10 a.m., the security guard noted down, this guy is going out 10 a.m. So when I come back, the connection is a return connection. So he will allow me without any policy. Because if I am going out, I will definitely come back, no? I am the LAN user. I am the user inside a trusted network. But unknown user comes in. Unknown user comes in. He will stop him because there is no table maintained. There is no table maintained. If you go to some office, reputed office like Reliance, Tata, Adani, any reputed company, they will immediately stop you at gate and ask all the credentials. Use what is your name, from where you are coming, what is the purpose, whom you want to meet, time, incoming time. Every detail is being noted down. Sorry. This is called stateful behavior. So when you go out, they will say, okay, just write down the checkout timing. Connection is complete. Because in TCP connects, there will be a three-way handshake. The first handshake is called sync. And the reply is what? Acknowledgement and sync. And the third one is what? Acknowledgement from this user. So if you are doing three-way handshake, it is possible that you should have a stateful firewall. So if router is acting like a firewall, or you can say a first generation firewall, then it is stateless firewall, and stateless firewall are not good. I want bidirectional communication. I want bidirectional communication. So packet filters firewall was having a drawback that they were not bidirectional, they were not stateful, they were stateless, and stateless is not good. So the second generation firewall they came was called application layer gateways. Packet filter router is there, man. Nobody is, see, it's like, extra feature. And somebody is claiming that my router is acting like a firewall, claiming. But there is a drawback, man. This this router is actually an IS firewall and it is stateless. But see what happens if nothing is there. I remember earlier we used to have bicycles. People were feeling proud to buy bicycles. Now also college students feel proud to buy bicycle, but the cost is very, very high. Now this is a trend. But during those days, there were the car was a little bit, you can't achieve those things unless you are super rich. People used to buy bicycles and feel proud because that was the only travel mode apart from public transport, personal travel mode. The college going student used to demand a bicycle from their parents. I want bicycle to travel to college. And now the guy will say, I want motorcycle. I want this particular sports bike or something like that. So see, when I'm talking about technology, I'm talking about years back. Okay. So second technology was application layer gateway. This also was for a short time. It was not popular. I remember application gateways were breaking down this communication between client and server. Always remember, in networking, client should communicate with the server directly without any middleman. Client should communicate with the server directly. But in application layer gateway, you see, the traffic is going towards gateway. That is application layer gateway. Then it repackage the request. When the response come, it repackage the response and give it to the client. There is no direct communication between client and server. So they stopped application layer gateways also. And it was costly also, man. Who's going to have multiple application layer gateways in office? It's not cost effective. It is not scalable because we might have 10 applications. So we'll have 10 application gateways. One application server will not support other applications. I'm talking about years back, man. And then finally they came out with stateful packet filtering, one of the best firewall which can write down the table, which can maintain a table. Like I just now told you, if you're going for a reputed office, he will make entry of your name, he will make entry of your incoming time, he will make entry of your um, you know purpose. He will ask you for your address, he will ask you for ID, he will ask you where you want to go, which floor, who is the person you want to meet, what is it official. All those details are being maintained in a table. We call this table as a state table. That is why we have firewalls today, all firewall. I'm talking about Cisco ASA, I'm talking about FTD, I'm talking about Checkpoint, I'm talking about Palo Alto. They're all considered as a stateful firewall. Stateful firewall actually inspect every packet and they compare it with the state table. State table is like a register, I just now told you, carrying all the details. So when the return connection comes in, immediately they know that this is the connection who went out and this is the connection who is coming in. So whenever a packet is being received by a gateway, what is there inside that packet? Layer 3 information. What is the layer 3 information? Source IP address, destination IP address, source port, destination port. Source port means some random port from 1024 and above. Like for example, suppose I am accessing Google. If I am accessing Google, so what will be my IP? Say my private IP address will be 192.168.10.10. Definitely, I'll be getting translated to some public IP that is called NAT. So my source IP, my destination IP will be Google. My source port will be example 1025 because up till 1023 the ports are reserved, like TCP protocol. You have HTTP. HTTP is port 80. HTTPS is 443. NTP is 123. Okay. SSL is 443. HTTPS. Telnet 23. SSH 22. FTP 21. These are all reserved port for these protocols. So your destination port will be 80. Why? Because I am doing HTTP to Google. But nowadays, my port get redirected to 443. 443 is what? HTTPS. Secure. HTTPS is a layman term for users because people don't understand what is the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. So banks always explain them. Always see HTTPS in the browser. What is the meaning of that? HTTPS is secure than HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol. But what is there behind this HTTPS, SSL, secure socket layer protocol, and TLS, transport layer security? TLS and SSL. SSL means secure socket layer. TLS means transport layer security. So what is there in the packet, man? In the packet, you have source IP, you have destination IP, you have source port, say 1026, you have destination port 80 or 443. If you are doing telnet, then 23. Then you have one more field called initial sequence. There is some unique number. Then you have flag. If it is a sing packet, it will write sing. It will, if it is an acknowledge wala packet, you will write acknowledge. all this information is maintained in a table, and that table is called what? Stateful table. That table is called what? Stateful table. Keeping information of all the connections. Now you must be thinking, if it is TCP, okay, chalo. What about UDP? User Datagram Protocol. In UDP, we don't have three-way handshake, but still we have source, we have destination, we have source, we have destination port. No doubt, we don't have flags. Flag is only in TCP, because in TCP there is a three-way handshake between the client and the server. So flags are always part of TCP packets. In UDP, limitation. Source, destination, source port, destination port. That's all. So I hope you understood the generations of firewall and the speciality of those firewalls. Because see, when nothing is there, at least you have something. Like I told you, router started telling, or Cisco started telling, my router is a firewall with the help of access list. You can do. Clear? So all those connection, TCP sessions or UDP sessions or any connection-less services like GRE, IPsec, okay, all this handled by this table. All these are handled by this firewall. Why there is a term called firewall? You know, in those days we used to have fires near our buildings or near our huts. People used to build hut, and if one hut gets fire, 100 huts will be burned. Why? Because they are all connected. They are all connected. You see, sometimes the jungles are burning for months. Why? Because they are all connected. If one tree catches fire, all the tree will get fire, connected. So jungles are burning for months. So in case of firewall, the term firewall means what? There is a wall which is protecting fire. In technical definition, firewall means one who intercepts the traffic coming from untrusted toward trusted. One who intercepts, one who stops, one who stop it and find out what is there inside the packet. He find out what is there in the source, what is there in the destination, who is the source port, who is the destination port, everything. He will stop it, maintain a table and forward it. So firewall actually intercept the traffic. Firewall actually allow only authorized traffic. Always follow policy. Who design policy? Administrator, security administrator, network administrator, one who is knowledgeable, one who understand how to configure a policy on a firewall. Because configuring a firewall is also important. It is important to understand what you are configuring, how you are placing your firewall. That is also important. Where to place these firewalls, how to configure this firewall, how to configure the policy on the firewall. All these things are done by the experts. And after this, you will also become expert. Okay. So I hope you like the introduction of firewalls. Tomorrow we'll do more about firewalls. I will explain you how Cisco firewall work, how Checkpoint firewall work, how Palo Alto firewall work, how Sonic wall work, how Fortinet firewall work. All are firewalls, but there are some slight differences between these firewalls. How the application filtering take place. Okay. So I hope you understood today's session. I hope you understood the difference between stateful and stateless. Remember, this term is very important. Whenever you go for an interview, and if you are telling them that you are a security administrator, you have done firewall, they will immediately ask you the difference between stateful and stateless. You have to be you have to tell them the difference. You have to, give them a favorable reply, because if you don't know the difference, then you're gone. Okay. So all those today's fire, in fact, router has also become a stateful firewall nowadays. ISR routers. Have you heard about that term ISR? Have you heard about the term CSR? Anyone? What is that? What is this ISR? What is this ISR? Why it is called ISR? ISR means integrated services router. Collab, voice over IP, it will work. Security, it will work. Routing, switching, it will work. It's like a smartphone, man. Smartphone do what? Take your calls, give calls, video recording, photo, music, banking, everything he can do, man. So same way, today my router also can do everything. He can do security, he can do collaboration, he can do voice over IP, he can do routing and switching. No doubt you have to take a license, a bundled of license. So that is why there is a term called ISR. And in ISR also we have generation 2, G2 routers. Guys, when a company is asking you Palo Alto or FortiGate or SonyWall, it is not like, you have to do 10 firewalls. If you do Cisco firewall, I guarantee you, you will understand other firewalls within a week. When you go for training, they teach you on BMW or what? Training Institute to drive a car. They teach you in BMW. They teach you in some Khatara or some car. But after learning driving, you can drive anything, man. You can't say, I was taught on, say, some Maruti and now I have some. Yes, of course, when you sit first time in a BMW, you have to understand how how the system works. But otherwise, steering, gears, clutch, everything except for automatic, everything is same. So it is not possible you to learn everything. But yes, you can go for Palo Alto, you can go for Cisco, Palo Alto, and then the third one is Checkpoint. If you bundle all these three, then no one can stop you to join a good company. You have a choice, na? I know Cisco also. You have Cisco, they'll say, no, we don't have Cisco, we have Palo Alto. I know Palo Alto also. Or you can confidently tell them, give me 1 week and I'll ready Palo Alto. Because see, if you don't know any firewall, then it is difficult. If you know Cisco firewall, then it is very, very easy to understand Palo Alto. It's not a big deal. Mark my words. Okay? If you get a job, send me some money. Okay, okay. Okay, goodbye, guys. Take care. Now I end my session. Okay. Thank you. Bye. Take care.